John, I want to start off first by thanking you for being here today. And then we're just going to get right into it because I would love for you to tell my audience what it is that you do.
Well, thank you, Catherine, for having me. I've been looking forward to speaking with you. I'm a fan of your podcasts and I find them informative, and I've been looking forward to this. So, thank you.
Thank
So,
you
I
for saying that.
own, I founded and own Diamond Music Management. It's an entertainment company based in Texas, in Dallas. And we primarily do luxury events, corporate events, weddings. We have bands and sound and lighting production that do events regionally in Texas and the surrounding regions, also nationally and internationally.
I would love for you to kind of explain a little more of what happens when you say that, when we do these events. So
Mhm.
it clearly is sound and music, but is that like providing a DJ, providing like the actual
Mhm.
sound
Mhm.
system for if people are speaking and things like that?
Yeah, it's all of that, and primarily it's bands. So a lot of people, when they think of the music business, they think about the recording industry and just that aspect of the music business. But there's so much more out there with working musicians and opportunities, and there's a lot of money to be made and a lot of opportunities to be had. So we provide bands. We have three event bands and an ABBA tribute band that we also provide for
Nice.
events. And we provide the sound and lighting production for the event that accompanies a band. We provide a DJ also if people want to add that to their package. We provide microphones for speeches, all of that for the events. It's pretty much soup to nuts
Oh, that's
for
really cool.
events in terms of music entertainment. We can also add dancers to a package for a larger corporate event. We have string players that work with us for ceremonies. But yeah, so primarily though, it's luxury runnings and luxury events, corporate events, galas, festivals. We travel all over the nation and internationally. And then Texas is just a thriving market for this kind of work. It's the reason that I relocated here. And I'm not originally from Texas. I'm from New Jersey originally and lived a few places in between there and Texas. But right now, I think it's the number one market in the United States for what I do.
Oh,
And
wow. Well, that's
yeah,
actually a fun
surprisingly,
fact.
yeah.
The thing I'm going to add as you were talking about this is, and I love that you add the word luxury onto your things because I truly believe that when there is a live band present and there's live music present, that does elevate any event, wedding,
It
just
does.
corporate
It's
presentation, anything. There's just
mhm,
something about actually feeling that music hit you in the face
mhm. Yeah, and it's the human
that
connection
that
from the
just makes it so
performers.
much richer. I mean,
Absolutely, it's much better than having a DJ for an event. I mean, no offense to DJs,
no,
but
we
it's
got some
that
good ones out
human,
there,
right? Yeah.
but some
It's that
aren't.
okay, right? But the human connection, it's that kind of intangible
Yes.
that creates the memories. You have performers interacting with the guest at an event, eye contact, exchanging energy, creating great memories that will stay with them forever. That's what we specialize in, and we do it really well.
That
So,
is so cool. That is, I mean, that
yeah,
is, I'm getting just excited just hearing more about this because I am such a fan
yeah,
of live music and I'm
yeah,
just,
yeah.
you know, I'm getting flashes in my mind of events that I've gone to where
Hmm. Hmm.
there has been live music. And like you just said, that the energy level is so
Hmm.
different and it's so impactful. And the fact that I mean, I've probably been to hundreds of meetings and conferences and, definitely have a couple
Hmm.
handfuls of weddings. And the ones
Yeah,
that are
yeah,
the most
yeah.
memorable do have the live music. So there's a
Music
lot to
is
be
really
said for that.
powerful. It's like I've been all over the world. I've been to 69 countries at last count, and most of that
Oh
has
my
been through
gosh.
performing. And no matter what language people speak, when we perform or when I perform, they feel what I'm giving and what the band is giving,
Right.
and it's kind of it's very powerful in that way. And I didn't set out to be a professional in this aspect of the business.
Uh-huh.
I started off going after a recording career. I had record labels very interested in me at different points in my career. I was courted by labels, and I kind of fell into being a working singer for many years.
Oh my
And
goodness.
then and when I was in a situation in other bands where there were singers and musicians, I have the kind of personality that I would always be the one that they put in charge, that organized things. I'm just that guy.
Yeah.
And so I've been in the industry for about 36 years, professionally.
Learn some
And
things.
yeah, and when I started this business here in Texas, I got to a point I was, not to age myself, I was in my mid 40s, and I'd moved to Texas for an opportunity with another company that's now one of my biggest competitors, who's a very big company nationally.
Hmm.
And when I left that company, I saw there was an opportunity in Texas to start my own business here. There was a part of the market that wasn't being, there was a niche there that I could kind of get in and we could have our own niche, and it was missing from the market. And I knew I could knock it out of the park. And I was at a point in my life where I was thinking, am I going to just go back to being a side singer and helping other people get wealthy, with me
Yes.
running things behind it, behind the business, or am I going to just start another version of my band Groove Line, which was the band that launched the whole business here in Texas. I'd
Hmm.
had Groove Line in Miami and in Los Angeles, places I lived before Texas. And I saw how ripe the market was here and the environment. And I knew if I started a Groove Line here in Texas, I knew it would take off.
Well, people in
Between
Texas
that
do
and
appreciate live music, so I can
yeah,
easily
yeah,
see
yeah.
where that was probably an easy sell on your part. What I love most about what you were talking about is that your career path is just so familiar for a lot of entrepreneurs, where
Mm-hmm,
they start doing one thing and they're
mm-hmm,
very good at it, and then they learn
mm-hmm.
some things along the way, and
Yeah.
then they're like, I could do this, and I could
Mm-hmm.
benefit
Yeah.
myself rather than
Mm-hmm.
build some,
Yeah.
basically help somebody else build their dream,
Right.
and
Exactly.
I'm going
Yeah.
to go out and build my own. So that, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you've articulated that perfectly. And I think that if I'm hoping people will listen to that and think like, I think I might be ready to do that exact same thing, just to kind of take that step out from under
Yep.
somebody else's wing. Because,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm kind of like you, I started my business when I got to the point where I was like, am I going to do this the rest of my life? Like, am I going to be
Mm-hmm.
like a 60-year-old graphic designer, or am I going to do
Mm-hmm.
something that actually, is
Yeah.
more and can help more people
Put
and,
put all those
be more
years of
fruitful for
experience that you've
myself?
had
So,
into, yeah. So, yeah, exactly. I have the spirit, the true spirit of an entrepreneur. I'm not afraid of risk. I will outwork anybody, but work in a smart way. I
hmm.
believe in myself. I'm confident, and I'm very goal oriented and driven. So, and I've used those attributes in throughout my career in other ways. But when I saw that opportunity here in Texas, I took all those years of experience, and I was at that point in my life where I wanted to really go forward with my own business here. And
Hmm.
I used that. And I don't have formal business training. I didn't go to business school. I've been an artist for,
Same.
I went to school for
Same.
music. I went to University of Miami for jazz vocal performance. And even before that, I started singing in church in New Jersey, at the same church as Whitney Houston. And we grew up
Oh,
together.
nice.
Yeah, singing in church. We were friends and knew each other well, and our families knew each other. And it was a very musical church. My father was a singer, professional singer, when he met my mother, before I was born. So I grew up around music, and I knew from very young that that's what I wanted to do with my life. And I think that I'm jumping around a little bit, but
No, that's
I'm
fine.
just going back.
You're right in
Yeah.
line with a lot of the questions that I'm going to ask you anyway, so
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
fine.
So
Because
I.
I was going to ask you, essentially, that it's like, you didn't end up being a business owner just, walking out of college or walking out of high school or anything
Mhm,
like that. So there
mhm.
was a path, and you did touch upon that a little bit. Now, so I'm going to back it up a little bit just to kind of get a
Mhm.
little more filled in there. So,
Sure.
at what point did you start singing in church, for example? Because I'm going to assume that was your first exposure into really performing. But was there something earlier, or what was the thing that kind of kicked you off in singing?
Into singing.
Hmm.
That was the upbringing in church. That's the origins of it, and my father being so musical and growing up in a house full of music, and just it gave me having the purpose in life since I was very young, and knowing that that's what I wanted to do, and I had a goal. There's a blessing in that purpose and a power in it.
Oh,
It kept me on the
absolutely.
right track from a young age. It gave me something to put my energy toward. So I was working toward that goal of being, I wanted to be a famous singer,
Of
and it's not
course.
too late, so I'm famous in my own way, and actually I've done a lot of big things besides the band, which I can tell you about. But so I had that drive and that purpose from young, and that was always in my mind. I went to a boarding school for high school, and I had an academic scholarship. Didn't have anything to do with music, but the education I got there allows me to have great critical thinking skills and good
Absolutely.
common sense. And I kind of use that in starting the business and all of my business endeavors over the years. But just also with starting the business without having a business degree or anything, I would look to friends of mine who have a lot of money. I have some very wealthy friends, and thinking that they had all the answers because they must be successful because they've got all this money and
Right,
everything. And I
right.
would go to them for advice. But then, in having this business be so successful and having me be 100% owner of it, I had no funding to start it off. It was all my vision, my instincts, my business acumen from all my years of experience and my smarts, whatever,
Yeah.
and using that, it was very self-affirming to know that I had the answers inside me. It's like I was looking at these other people, but people can give you advice, but sometimes they will do it through the lens of what they're comfortable with, and
Exactly.
it may not apply to me. So everyone told me that what I've done is impossible. What, getting into this business in Texas with Diamond Music Management, they told me it would have been impossible. I had no money to do it. I'm an outsider from Texas. There's a good old boy system here. Wasn't supposed to be possible. So friends of mine who had money would not invest because they thought it was just an uphill battle and they thought it was entertainment. Oh, I don't know anything about that. That's high risk. But to see it be so successful, it's gratifying and it's self-affirming. And so now when I have that in the back of my mind, that voice saying, "You got this," I don't doubt it as much.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I really
you
don't.
had said a word that I like to bring up with entrepreneurs, and that is risk, because I kind of
Hmm.
think that smart people don't take risks. Smart
Hmm.
people just do things a little more calculated. It's like you're playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers.
Hmm.
You're like three moves ahead,
Hmm.
and there's no risk in that because kind of it's like I've run all the scenarios in my head, and granted,
Hmm.
there's always there's a wild card surprise that could happen, but
Hmm.
according to my calculations, this should work, and therefore it doesn't
Hmm.
feel as risky. Like I've checked all
Hmm.
the cords on the parachute, and the plane is
Hmm.
safe, and so I'm going to jump, and because I feel
Hmm.
very confident in this, and it's not a risk because I've done my homework, if you will,
Hmm.
and a lot of that is based on having a formal education of some kind, and some people can
Hmm.
do this very successfully, which is high school, but college is also very helpful because it helps us with that critical thinking,
Hmm.
and then we get a lot of our knowledge just from observing others around us, and you
Yes.
had
Hmm.
said that too. Like, I'm seeing what other people are doing, and I'm like, well, wait, I was kind of like, well, if they could do it, I could do it.
Hmm.
Or how did they do that, and really start studying it, and then again laying the groundwork and the plan and things like that, and it
Yeah.
never felt like a risk per se, although
Yeah.
maybe from the
It's
outside it does seem that way, so I'll
well,
ask you.
yeah, I think that, risk, people shouldn't be afraid of risk. You have to be smart about it, make the best plan you can, and then not be, the rubber's got to hit the road at some point. Some people will overthink things and then just don't want to make a move.
Yes,
But I feel that risk is not necessarily our enemy all the time. Sometimes it's our teacher, a failure rather is not our enemy, but it's our teacher.
yes,
So I'm not
yes.
afraid to fail. At least I went for it. I'm going to make the best plan I can, and I'm going to be as smart about it as possible. I'm going to take the risk, and I'm going to go for it. And that's what I did with this business. When everybody around me, all my friends with money and everything said, "Oh, you can't do it. It's impossible." And look at where I am,
Exactly. Exactly. I
So
think we read a lot of the same books because you're saying a lot of things that I truly believe in, as far
actually,
as,
no, what?
just
Yeah,
kind of believing in yourself, and just saying, what, I'm just going to do it, and it's going to
it's
work, you
it's just
know?
how I feel. It's not even really from a book for me. It's just the way that I've lived my life. And it's
Just-
just, and
well,
as
maybe
I've
you can
gotten,
write your own book then.
maybe, I think it could be inspirational. It's getting to this point in my life in my 50s and having that confidence and knowing that I've gone through some things and looking back and seeing that a lot of the answers were within me.
Yeah.
And when I was looking to other people, thinking, but they were giving advice based on what they were comfortable with or what risks they didn't want to take, and so it's
Yeah,
a good
I
place
think
to
your
be right now.
perspective is perfect, and yeah, I do think there's a book in there somewhere. But we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Um, all right, so I'm just going to backpedal a little bit too. So
Hmm.
um, you sang in church and you got into this music career, and then
Hmm.
what was the one thing that was like the big trigger of, what, I'm just going to go all in, and I'm going to start this business. What was that first step like for you?
Well, for the starting the business here in Texas specifically was where I was in my life age-wise and thinking about my future, and then having the sort of confidence at that time from all my years of experience, knowing that I could do it. Um, and then just seeing the trigger was really seeing how much work there was here in Texas.
Mm.
When I was managing for another company, I was running circles around some of the other people. I was just more on it, and I'm like, man, I could really kill this if I just do my own business here with all of the opportunities. And I didn't want to let that pass me by and go back to. I thought that this was a great opportunity in this environment, and I wanted to go for it.
I
So
love
that
it.
was kind of the catalyst. Being here in Texas, I moved here to work for another company, but seeing what the environment was like, seeing what they were charging for the bands,
Right, right.
um, and then it was a good environment for opportunities.
Yeah, and I think that's also interesting too, how you just kind of took a little bit of a leap of faith moving to Texas too with another
Hmm.
company, because
Hmm.
that's not easy to do either. Kind of give up everything that you're familiar with to go someplace completely
Hmm.
new,
Yeah,
and work for a
right.
company based on what you believe is going to be a big dream. But it ended up being a little more like that was just your destiny. That was just your catalyst to get
Yeah,
to Texas to be
yeah, yeah,
successful.
yeah. That was my third move at that point. I'd moved from the Northeast, where I grew up, to Miami. And I was in Miami after college, working as a professional singer there for 15 years. I was on a lot of records. I was a session singer,
Oh,
backing
nice.
vocalist for a lot of famous artists, and mostly in Spanish. This was based in Miami. I toured
Oh,
with
sure, sure.
all around the world with Latin artists and people like Franco De Vita. He's famous in Latin music. Julio Iglesias Jr., Luis Enrique. Um, so I did a lot of that work, and then I picked up from there and moved out to Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Because that's the heart of the music industry and the
Yes.
entertainment industry. Left all my contacts in Miami, moved out there, and so I'm not afraid to I go where the spirit kind of calls me and where it seems like I should
Exactly.
go.
Just
It
get ready to pack up and move. All right, this chapter's done. We're on to the next. I love it.
Kind of, it was each of those places served their purpose and they were wonderful for that time in my life. And all of that collective experience has gotten me to where I am now. And all of that kind of professional experience when I got to Texas and saw the ripe environment, I took all those years of experience and put it into the business here in this ripe environment, and it just
I just love
exploded.
it. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so you are, entrepreneur, business owner, very busy, but I'm hoping that you have something that you do to kind of unplug and get away from just all the paperwork and the logistics of it all. So, John, what do you do when you want to unplug?
Well, when I have a heap of time, I love to travel.
Oh, yes.
That's like my favorite thing in the world to do. I returned from a trip to Argentina and Italy. I did
Nice.
both in the same trip. And that I love to do that because it just gets me into a different environment and just stimulates me to be around, different culture and different people, different food, different way. I just take it all in. But on a more, daily level, I guess I do yoga, I exercise, I meditate. I listen to music. Music is powerful in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways, and I just kind of get lost in the music and kind of just really feel the emotion of the music and and it depends on the day what I'll listen to. But all of those things I think are really healthy and help me de-stress. Yeah.
I think that's perfect, and I like that everything that you mentioned is just a lot of introspective, quiet time stuff. Because what you do, I mean, music can get loud and it can get involved, and there's always people, and it can get a little chaotic, and then your escape a little bit is like, let me just kind of recenter and do things that kind of get me back on track.
Yeah, and then there's music. There's a music business, and then there's music that I enjoy and want to listen to on my own time. So, because I am in the music business, so a lot
Right?
of times
You get to
the
hear it
bands are
all.
performing songs that people want to hear, and that's what we do. It's not necessarily what I feel like listening to at the time or whatever, but there's a joy, and even if we find that we're about to get jaded and kind of over the music that we're doing, we'll perform a song, or the band will perform a song. You see the reaction of the people listening to the music and how that song and that music is really affecting them, and it means so much to them, even though
Mm-hmm.
the band has performed it millions of times. And that just brings it all new to everybody
Yeah.
again when you see the reaction of people to what the band is doing.
Yeah, the people like
So,
the hits.
what the band's doing. What's that?
People like the hits, no matter how
Yeah,
many
they do.
times the band has played it. There's certain ones that, if you're struggling to get people to stand up and start dancing, you could put on, a couple of tracks, and there's some that get people
Yeah,
moving, which is,
it's the power of the song.
it is the power of the
It's
song and just the power of
it's
music in general.
yes, yes, yes. And that can be in the recording industry or the live, events industry. It still comes down to that song, the power of it, and the performers and that exchange of energy. It's timeless. It goes across all language barriers, and
Yeah.
people feel that kind
One
of
of the one of the
exchange.
tools that I like to tell people, like when they struggle with what they can do to unplug and things like that, is to think about what their favorite song was when they were growing up. What is that one song that no matter what gets you moving? Because in many cases, it transports us to a place where we were very happy, where we didn't have any responsibility, where it was really, really fun. And it's a great way to just kind of reprogram your brain that if you're a little stuck, a little lost, a little overworked, a little depressed, a little whatever, put that song on
Hmm.
and it's going to change everything. It's going to change your mood, and it's going to make you feel in some ways like a kid again,
Yeah.
and you can get back into that space where you're the most powerful.
Yeah, yeah, its music is very powerful that way. And I think about all of the artists who have come and gone, but they've left this wonderful music that people listen to, you know,
Yes.
you know, hundreds of years later. I listen to a lot of classical music too, and I love Debussy, and that his music just still moves me. And what a gift to be able to be on this earth and leave something after you're gone that lasts forever and
Yes.
still affects people. I
Yes.
think that musicians and artists of all kinds are kind of gifted in that way and blessed, you
Yeah,
know.
I wake up to
But
Mozart every day.
oh, okay,
That's
yeah,
what my alarm is,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I mean, and it might sound like super cliche. It's like, oh, Mozart, of course, but I mean, if you really really listen to it, it's kind of freaking mind blowing on
mm,
how amazing it is. And I love
yeah,
that you brought up, not just, we don't have to even go back that far as great music, but there's just some of those older songs too that if you
mhm,
really listen to them, they are still, they hold up well. They
yeah,
really
yeah,
do.
yeah. So that
And
is at the core of the business. So I mean, because a lot of people, once they start running a business and they're in entertainment, they start getting caught up in the money part of it and making more money. And I'm able to be a successful businessman and run a good business and hit all the marks that I need to make in that way. But I still don't allow myself to get jaded and just, all about the money and the growth of the business. I still bring it back to why I got into entertainment and music in the first place, and I kind of keep that in me. And I like to get centered every now and again, and now and again, and remember that if I'm having a tough day with business or
yes.
whatever, I remember what made me get into this and the joy we're bringing to people. Yeah, we're making money and everything. The business is doing well, but there's a greater purpose to what we're
Hmm.
doing, and that's just the way that I roll.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
But I
and
see.
I am so thrilled that you were here to talk today because you are bringing so much I mean, important information for entrepreneurs to really, really listen to. Because I think, a lot of people think I'm going to start this business and just essentially create a job for myself. But when you're a true entrepreneur, just really understands everything that you talked about. It's not just about, oh my God, I got to work 60 hours a week. And sometimes, yes, you do. Sometimes it's 80. Well, that's just the truth of the matter. But it is really about just having this balance in life that just pushes you further because you're constantly feeding your mind and your soul and all parts of your body
Mhm,
that's what it's really about, and those are all the
mhm,
things that you've talked about. And I think that's gonna, like I said, it's gonna be super helpful for anybody who's thinking about entrepreneurship or are a little bit stuck in why they're not moving fast enough. It's because they
mhm.
really have to embrace the whole thing and not just if I work hard, which is usually what we're told. If you work hard, you can make it happen, but it's a lot deeper than that. It's a lot deeper than that. And the other thing I want to mention, I'm so thrilled that you were here because musicians, yes, you can make money. Because I know a lot of musicians that struggle, and they are the people in the bands and things like that. But just thinking a little more outside of the box, that could make a big difference for them too. And it might not be just constantly making music. There's so, like you said, there's so much behind it that can be
Mhm.
profitable for them. And they have that gift. They really do, but they're
Mhm.
maybe not tapping into because they're still kind of caught up in that romantic, I'm
Yeah.
going to be a famous singer,
Mhm.
musician sort of
Yeah, yeah,
person.
yeah.
It's just like, honey, there's lots of
Yeah.
places to make money here.
Yeah. And for those artists who have a bit of business acumen, and they've got a lot of experience, maybe it might inspire them to kind of take it to another level, not just be the performer, but
Yes,
to start something, and just do some research and make a plan, and and it could change things for them moving forward. So it did for me.
yep,
But it's like I said, though, it's really gratifying to know just on a business level how successful the business is. Not having a proper business education, but one of my friends is a really successful investment banker, and
mm,
I talked to him a lot about what I'm like the business, the nuts and bolts of the business and everything. And he has said to me a few times, he's like, "Oh, okay, so what you've just done is called this." He's like, so he's a proper business guy. He's like, "You just did it instinctually." And he's
yeah,
like, "It's great." But I call on him and other professionals for advice, but I also know when to take some of the advice, and some of it may not apply to me in my situation, and not be afraid to kind of let some of the advice go and
yep,
like kind of stand strong in what my instincts are telling me from my years of experience in the industry. And I think that's an important lesson for people to learn too, because sometimes you can get too
absolutely.
caught up in everybody else's opinion, and you don't know which way to turn. And then sometimes people are from a different industry giving you advice, or it may be their own fears where they don't want to take a risk, and they're telling you, "Oh, don't take that risk."
Right,
Everyone told me not to take the risk to start this business.
right.
All of my dearest friends, but they're not risk takers,
Yeah,
you know,
they could
and
not see it, and
they couldn't
that's
see
part of
it.
being
And yeah,
a visionary. Is very much a part of being an entrepreneur as well. And I love what you added on there as far as I didn't know everything, so I asked people, and then
mhm,
ultimately when I asked enough people, then I just went with my gut instinct, and I think
yes,
that's business right there. That's how you do business.
awesome.
Thank you so much for being here. This was such a great conversation, and I loved,
Oh,
loved, loved your input. I do think it's going to help other people who are, just doing this journey. And I will have your information about your company in the notes of the podcast, so they'll be able to get
great.
in touch with you. And this will be also on LinkedIn as well, and they'll be able to see how to get in touch with you there too. But thank you again for being here today.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed the chat. Thanks.